What are some creative ways you're able to spread Chassidus and Nifsaim?
Okay, any possible means. I don't think there's a limit to the techniques that we use to spread Chassidus, as long as it's kosher and it's effective. That's the important thing. I'm just going to make one mention that in general, the most important demographic that needs to be reached is young people, because they're the future, number one, and number two, the impact that we have on young people is far more overarching and lasting. So the efforts, the creative efforts that we put in to enhancing the spreading of Chassidus should keep in mind where the children are and where the teenagers are. They're the most difficult people to reach, but they're the most important people to reach. And also, when you reach them, they're the most sincere, the most genuine, and they're most willing to actually grow and change.
Unique to you, what are some ways that you connect with Chassidus?
Some ways I connect to Chassidus. That's also a very loaded question. I think the first answer to that question is the Rebbe. I grew up here. I had the good fortune of living more or less my entire life here. And as my mother said once, the Rebbe raised us. The influence that Rebbe has on us is extraordinary, and it's lasting. And it's very, very difficult to explain the extent to which the Rebbe's presence made us the people that we are. On a practical level, I would say that the most important teaching of Chassidus to me, that I struggle with the most, and I consider the most important in my personal life, is the avodah simcha, the emphasis on serving Hashem with joy, and not allowing yourself to become distracted by any considerations that are going to take away our energy, which is consistent with joy. Now, it happens to be that, for better or for worse, I'm an intellectual, I'm a geek, I'm a weirdo, which means I love ideas, I love deep ideas, I love abstract ideas. If you will, I love philosophy. So Chassidus Chabad is right up my alley. It's what I love to learn, it's what I love to teach, it's what I've made my life's work to be, to teach Chassidus.
What is something new you think this contest of Chassidus Explained by Art is going to bring to the table that something that like this, because it doesn't exist before, is now bringing to the table?
The honest truth is, I'm not the creative type. I'm an intellectual, and I live in my own world. I'm not one of those people who has his finger in the wind and knows what's going on and understands and appreciates what's going to make a big change in the world. I just know it's going to bring in more people. It's going to bring in a different type of person. It's going to bring in the kind of person who may feel a little bit unwelcome in Chassidus, because Chassidus, especially Chassidus Chabad, as a scholarship, is very academic, it's very intellectual, it's very square, and the arts are quite different. This is an opportunity to give people who are Lubavitcher Chassidim and who are familiar with Chassidus a voice that's a little bit creative and it's a little bit different. It'll serve them well, and it'll serve the people who are so inclined as a portal, as an opening into Chassidus Chabad.
Questions? Someone like yourself is very, very involved in different creative ways of hafatzah. What's one situation or story where you received a unique feedback from the people that you reached through the hafatzah, and specifically when you're doing it in a creative way, because the video again is for the art contest, which is using things you want to Chassidus for creativity.
And just as a side, it doesn't have to be art. It could have been you reached them out through a video that would have been your regular thing, because you said you're
YouTube.
So I don't know how to answer that question. This morning I got a letter from somebody because he's going to be in New York and he wants to see me, and he sent me a letter 7 years ago, which I read again now, basically saying that Inside Chassidus made him frum. Meaning to say that Inside Chassidus did not only educate him and help him progress in his understanding of Chassidus and figuring out the meaning of Judaism, it actually sparked his neshama, which is very, very exciting and very special. The whole idea of Chassidus is the belief in the inner soul, in the neshama. and the bringing forward of that soul, not just as a lightning in a bottle, in a magic moment of tshuva, but as a sustained way of life. And there's nothing more delightful than to learn that you've had that opportunity simply by teaching to do what I do and to reach people on that level and in this way is very special. I'll tell you a story. I used to give a class in Flatbush in Tanya, and it was an academic class, and the people who came were quite intelligent. I went through my engineer period, had a bunch of really, really bright guys. And there was a man who came to that class, his name was Morris, who was very, very intelligent. And he was Brooklyn born, but he was very secular. He didn't even make a Pesach Seder. And at some point I asked him, why does he keep coming to the classes? We were learning Chassidus and Yigeres HaKodesh. It was rather scholarly and rather esoteric. And I found it odd that he would come week after week and listen, and he would never question, he would never debate. I had opportunity before and after the class to talk to him, and I realized how intelligent and educated he was. So he said to me very plainly, I want a relationship with God. So I said to him, if you're looking for a relationship with God, you must have resolved all the questions between science and religion so that it frees you up to pursue a relationship with God. He says, no, he never even thought about the questions. I said, so then how could you have this curiosity? And I'll never forget his words. He said to me, I don't care. I just want a relationship with God. That's the story. And this story is everything that Chassidus is about. The most intelligent person with the greatest background in academia and science can approach his pursuit of God by trying to go through the channel of the science and the math. I'm not saying that that's impossible, but that's very complicated. And the God you're going to find at the end is going to be a mathematical God. The whole purpose of Chassidus, the whole purpose of the Baal Shem Tov, was to create a form and a technique that allows us to find God within ourselves. And it doesn't turn our brain off, but it allows us to circumvent, to separate our spiritual connection to Hashem and our behavioral living as Jews from our brain and our questions and our heaviness and our ego.
I'm just asking this as a side thing. The person that sent you a letter 7 years ago that became from through Chassidus, was this someone like Israeli, American?
South American. He's coming here Shabbos afternoon. You want to meet him? You can come.
Completely secular,
Well, he's married with 3 children, but I'll send you the letter. It's so moving. It's not the first time I've gotten such a letter, but he writes, I made him from. How do you make a person from and never meet him?
It's interesting.
Inside Chassidus.
Inside Chassidus.org. It's magic.
Wow.
It's very special. It's a big schus.
And he found the website. He was just like
his shliach gave him the website, but he's saying that I turned on his neshama. I'll show you the letter. I'll send it to you, and you'll send it to him. But it's not for public. It's a private. It's a personal letter. Yeah.